welcome back to my channel. How are you doing today? I hope you are doing well. I hope you are doing well. Before we get into it, I just want to let y'all know my focus was a little hokey pokey artichokey, but it gets better toward the end, so just like let it rock if it ain't hitting right now. Today I have a juicy, delicious, wonderful video for you today. But before we get into the mix, I know you see the local one. I can braid my hair. I can braid my hair now. Yeah, she got the set of the wolves, the Cleos. I got the, you feel me? I'm gonna keep my hair braided like this for months, and then it's just gonna grow. Because when I was a junior in high school, I had kept my hair under a wig and I kept it braided and shit, and my hair grew so motherfucking long. But I be watching YouTube videos with people growing their hair and they be like, yeah, I just kept it in braids for months. But anyway, on to the next. So today's video is going to be a story time. The thing is that I don't know what to call it. You feel me? Like, I have a few ideas, but I'm not. Matter of fact, let me ask voiceover angel.
Hey girl.
Yeah, what you think we should call this story?
They thought I was stealing.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. That sounds really delicious, really juicy, really,
You know how I do.
ravishing. You know what I mean? Do you like it?
Well, duh, I made it.
Okay, sorry. Wow. You heard the title of this story. Let's get into the nitty gritty. And you know this gonna be a good story because I got notes and shit. So basically, let me stop. So this story takes place when I used to work in the motherfucking grocery store. Now, if you're new to my channel, then go check out my Storytime playlist. I think I have a playlist. If not, there will be a playlist. And I have a story about the time a girl tried to fight me. We ain't had no teeth. Go check that out if you want a little bit more context as far as the people I was working with or whatever. But like, that's not really necessary, you know what I mean? But that's a good story, so go watch that story. All right, this takes place when I was working at that same grocery store. Again, I was like 17 or 18 or whatever, right? By this point, I had been working at the store for a couple of months. This was actually more toward the end of me, like I think this was like a few months before I quit type shit. You feel me? Like, before I got up out of there. I had been working as a cashier. I was doing really well. I was actually, if you ask me, I was really one of the best employees. Like, I had made friends with the customers and shit. I was just doing the most, having a good time, right? However, y'all know I'm a social butterfly. And so when the store would get slow and it was nobody in my line, I would simply cut off my light to my register and I would go and help the stalkers do the stalking, or I would go and do go bags. I would help like build up the shelves and the cute little, you know, seasonal decorations and everything. I would just do everything but be on my damn register when I didn't have to be, because girl, it was so boring. Like, you're just standing there for hours not doing anything. It's very boring. Another thing about me as a cashier, I was very much neat and clean. So whenever we didn't have customers, again, when there was like any downtime, I would clean my register and I would organize my till. And a till is what you call the thing that you put the money in, right? My till was always, when I tell you tip top shape, all of my ones was together and orderly and neat, no wrinkles, no nothing. Same with my 5s, my 10s, my 20s, and then the 100s that you put in the little envelopes, all the things, right? And my coins was in the right place. I just had a very organized till, very clean register. There was a few other cashiers that would work during my shifts. So we have Cinnamon. If y'all remember Cinnamon from the last story, she was my best friend at the time. So Cinnamon was actually a cashier. And there were 2 other cashiers. But as a whole, the cashiers were managed differently from the general manager of the store, right? So there was like general manager, and then there was the manager over the stalkers, and then the managers over the cashier people. However, the managers that were over the cashiers weren't really like managers. They would just be in charge of counting the till, closing the till. They had the keys to the back if we needed extra change, and we would call them CSMs. We had a few CSMs at the store. However, most of the time I would work with one particular CSM. We are going to call her Sweetie because she was so sweet and I love her. Oh my God. We had one named Sweetie, and I'm gonna call the other one, we're gonna call the other one Dorinda. So we have Miss Sweetie and Miss Dorinda. They were both the CSMs, right? As a cashier, You couldn't have anyone else just work randomly on your register. So every cashier had their own login to the register, right? And it would keep track of your till, how much money is in and out, if you had to do a money order, if you had any Coinstars, credit, debit, all the things. It just kept a track and it was attached to your name, right? And so sometimes the CSMs would work on your register if the lines was busy. Like they would just use your login. And granted, you wasn't supposed to do that, but it was being done. You know, it was happening. It was definitely happening. So sometimes when I would be off my register just doing random shit in the store, the lines would get busy and they would call me up to come back and, you know, be a cashier type shit. Sometimes the CSMs would have to come and work under my register until I got there. Or, you know, even if I was there, they would come and work under someone else's login if they couldn't log in themselves, right? So bam, we got the this, we got the that. Now let's really get into the nitty of the gritty. So like I said, around this time I had been there for a while, and if you watch the other story time, you guys know that I used to take my breaks at the deli. I'm not gonna lie, that motherfucking food and that motherfucking grocery store and that motherfucking deli, girl, it was so good. I can't lie. That chicken, that banana pudding, that mac and cheese. And the store don't even exist no more, so I can't even go back and get a tray right now if I wanted to. I used to get food on my breaks from the deli, or I would go to the produce and get some fresh fruit from my homeboy because, you know, I worked there, so I would be like, give me the freshest pineapple and kiwi and strawberry I got back there. Like, you feel me? Like, fill me out. Whenever you buy food or snacks in a grocery store, if you work there, when you go to cash out, you have to get a pink sticker that said paid. So that way, if you was like off the clock eating or whatever, they would see the sticker and be like, oh, you paid for this. Like, they wouldn't think you be around here stealing in their stuff. You know what I mean? And so sometimes, even when people weren't on their breaks, they would be like, girl, can you just put this sticker on my drink real quick? Or can you put this on my snack? And I'm going to pay for it the next time I get a break because I'm thirsty right now and it's hella customers. And we would all be like, yeah, for sure. And we would look out cashier to cashier. You feel me? Because most of the cashiers, like I said, was women. So it was very much me and my girls. We're helping the girls. We're feeding the girls. We have to feed each other as women. Yeah, I paid every time. However, as it progressed, some people wasn't paying every time. They was just putting the stickers in betwixt. You feel me? They was just doing them. And you know, at the end of the day, who am I to tell you what you can and can't do in that regard? You know what I mean? Like, I just work here. So then after that started happening, there was a couple of, like, you know, stealings and robberies and things of that had went on with, like, customers coming to the store and stealing shit. If you ever worked in a grocery store, I'm sure you guys know what the word shrink is, right? So shrink is basically when the store is spending more money than it's making money. You feel me? So around this time, the store was having hella shrink. Like, I'm talking about, we was having dummy shrink. We was damn near broke. Penny pinching, if you will. So after the store started getting hella shrink, our manager came and was like, you guys really need to make sure that y'all are vigilant and y'all are actually paying for your snacks and your meals when you're not here. You need to make sure you're giving people the proper change from the register. You need to make sure you're ringing everything up right and you're not missing stuff, because you feel me, like, we got to make sure this is right. Corporate is having a lot of shit to say right now, and we would rather not hear from corporate. You feel me? It very much gave that. Everyone was already ringing up shit the correct way. So folks was just making sure they was paying for their snacks and paying for their food and giving out stickers to people who actually paid for the things, as opposed to stickers in advance like we was doing before. So when shift happens, and I remember I was working with my girls, and the CSM that day was Miss Dorinda. And so at this particular time, I was off of my register and I was gonna help the stalkers do some shit because it wasn't really hella people in there, and like, it was a chill regular day. I think it was like midweek or something, right? But after a while, I was like, man, let me go back to my register, do my me, because my break is finna happen and I can just come back and see these folks on my break, right? So I'm going to my register now, and I noticed Miss Dorinda is at my register, and I'm like, because mind you, it's no customers there for her to be hopping on my register. I didn't need a money order, you know what I mean? Everything was orderly. So I'm like, what is she doing? You know what I mean? And like I said, CSMs run everything in the store, so all they need is a key and they can just open your register. I'm walking up and I'm like, Dorinda. Before I could like get behind my register to see what she was doing, I heard my register close, and she was like, oh, I was just making sure you didn't need any money, or you didn't need any da, da, da. And I was like, oh, no, I'm good. Like, it's whatever. And she was like, yeah, well, you know, da, da, da. We had a quick conversation, and then she left my register, and I stood back behind my register. And then I was like, that was a little weird. But because everybody in the store was so stressed about the shrink and so stressed about the money and everything, I just assumed she was doing some shit that I ain't know about because I'm a cashier and she is CSM. Time passes, I get a new customer, I'm scanning their shit, whatever. And it comes time for them to pay now. My register pops open. And typically when they have like credit or debit, I just close the register again because you don't need to get any money out of there, right? So the register pops open and I tap the button so they can pay for their card. And I look down at my register before I close it, and I noticed that my shit look a foolio. And I'm like, because like I told y'all earlier, I always kept my register clean and orderly because I never had anything to do in there. So I was just always making sure shit was clean. I kept my register open. I finished the transaction, but the guy giving him his receipt, he leaves. I open the register now and I'm looking and I'm like, why are my ones all scattered? Like my fives and my tens and everything. I'm like, everything just looks a fucking mess. So, like I said, I was like, okay, well, let me just organize it. At least it gives me something to do. I guess maybe, you know, Miss Dorinda was really trying to see, like, really getting in the gristle. You know what I mean? So I organized my till again, make sure everything's nice and neat, make sure all the bills are in the right place, all the coins are in the right place. There's no extra trash or wrapping from, like, a coin or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I close my register. I go about my day. And as the weeks drag on and I work more shifts with Miss Dorinda, I noticed that like she's always for whatever reason trying to work on my register, and every time that she leaves my register it looks a fucking mess. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell she's doing, but she needs to stop doing what she's doing, because like I said, CSMs work under registers all the time, but anytime Miss Sweetie worked under my register, it never gave this organized. She would do a 1 2 3, she would leave, and it would be very primed and proper, no issues or nothing like that. And I'm like, like, I don't like that. But then I just assumed, I just was like, well, maybe Miss Dorinda is a little disorganized. Maybe she a little like unkempt or whatever, like because she's been working here for so long, maybe she just don't care. I ended up picking up closing time shifts come Friday or Saturday because I was like, I mean, I'm not doing anything for me, like school's not in, I could work and close and all the things. At nighttime when I would do closing, someone would have to go and clean the restroom and then do the go backs, because you know it's the end of the day, you want to make sure the grocery store is clean and clear. However, the cashiers, as soon as the store closed at 10 o'clock, we had to leave, so we had to get up out of there. So we had to make sure all of our things were in order before we left, because the stalkers couldn't come and work anything out. And besides us leaving, the only thing we had to do was tills, right? So I started being the person to clean the bathroom and do the go backs whenever I had the night shift, because it would let me get off my register. I would be around the store, and it was a fun time. I used to be in the bathroom singing and shit, doing my thing. And to be honest, it was never really that dirty. You would just wipe a mirror, wipe a sink, check the floor, sweep, and you're done. Like, it was very quick, very easy, but you would be around the store, and I lived, right. But one day I'm working closing, and I'm working the shift with me, Miss Dorinda, and there was another cashier there, because when it's time for closing, they only have 2 cashiers, because it don't be nobody in there past, like, I don't know, 7 o'clock for real, right? So I'm in the back now and I'm cleaning the bathroom, and Miss Dorinda had started taking tills. So then a call goes out on the intercom and they're like, Angel, come to the register. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I take all the stuff I was using to clean, I put it in the back real quick, and I run up to the front. So as I come to the front, I see one cashier ringing someone out, and then I see Miss Dorinda also behind the register ringing people out. And she tells me, she's like, Angel, come work on my register right here so I can finish these tills. And then once y'all get sorted, you can go back to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. She leaves to the front to go finish counting tills. I hop behind her register. I'm scanning people out, whatever, right? And as I scan people in her register, I'm noticing her register is a fucking mess. Yeah, it's a mess. So it clicked in my mind there, like, oh, that's why my till be messed up every time she comes, because she's just a little messy with it. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't really take an issue with it because, like I said, she only be on my register for a little bit. I can organize it back up. It's fine. It was whatever, right? Days drag on, the weeks drag on. This is a regular thing. Anytime Miss Dorinda gets on my till, I'm just expecting it to be fucked up. I can reorganize. No big deal. And I was always the last person to be working on my name. So before I would leave or clock out, I would make sure everything was in the right order. All of my ones were where they're supposed to be. All of my 5s, my 10s, my 20s, so on and so forth. You get me? You get me. So one particular day, I'm doing closing, and I was working with Miss Sweetie and Miss Dorinda. And so I'm doing my things, I'm getting everything together, whatever. And me and Miss Dorinda were trying to figure out who was gonna go and do the bathrooms, because Miss Dorinda is a CSM and she ain't really do the cashier shit too much because she was a CSM, right? I was like, well, I'll go do the bathroom and then you can just stand by my register because we don't have any clients here. And she was like, okay, that's fine with me. So I leave her, she takes place in my register, I go clean the bathrooms, I take the trash, I do the go backs, right? Mind you, all of that took maybe like 30-ish minutes. In between that time, I think it was maybe like one customer, but it was pretty close to closing time, so it wasn't really anyone in the store, right? So then Miss Sweetie comes back and tells Miss Dorinda that she's gonna go ahead and take my till because it was only 15 minutes until closing and we hadn't had any customers, and we probably won't have any customers in betwixt those 15 minutes. So Miss Dorinda's like, cool, whatever, I don't care. Then Miss Sweetie comes and tells me, hey, I'm gonna take your till. If anybody comes in the 15 minutes, hop on the special register, it'll be fine. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I don't have to work no more, period. That's all I'm doing, right? Then Miss Sweetie comes, takes my tills and goes to the back to count my money, right? Now, as she did that, I decided I was just gonna clean my register real quick, sweep in the front, and by the time I'm finished with that, I call my mom, I get my ride, I go home. I'm cleaning my register, I sweep in front of it, I take my trash, all the things, and then Miss Sweetie comes out of her office, and she's like, yeah, Angel, your till came up short because you put the 20 in the wrong place. And I'm like, She was like, yeah, you had a 20 tucked under your 5s. You need to make sure it's in the right place because you don't want your till to come up short. And I'm thinking, like, I literally organized my till before I left and we had no clients. So I thought it was a little peculiar because I'm like, how the fuck that happened? And I was just like, oh, all right, like, my bad. And I'm like, well, maybe I did it on the accident. I don't know. She was like, I went ahead and fixed it for you, so, like, you don't have to worry, but just be more cautious next time. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. And then, you know, the day progresses. I clock out. I go home. Next fucking day. Really didn't think too much of that, right? So one day happens, and I remember specifically that it was the middle of the week. I'm working my shift. I'm bringing customers out. Nothing new. So this one boy that I actually went to school with comes up, and he asked me to do a coin star. A coin star is those machines where you pour like pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters in, and then it rings out a receipt that tells you, oh, $25.78. You bring it to the register. They scan it. They give you the money. We keep the receipt, you going about your day. He comes to me, I'm like, oh, hey, how are you? He's like, I'm good, how are you? Da, da, da. He gives me his coin star, I take it, I scan it, I see the amount, I gave him the money, right? The thing about Coinstar is the cashiers are supposed to keep the Coinstar receipt. That's how it gets counted in your till, and corporate knows $27 is missing because someone had a Coinstar, right? But see, I had never done a Coinstar before this point. So in my mind, I thought that they kept the receipt for the Coinstar, right? So I give him his money, and then I gave him his Coinstar receipt, but I didn't know you wasn't supposed to do that. I'm like, great, have a good day. He leaves, I think nothing of it. So the day progresses, whatever. I leave early because I had school the next day, so I couldn't close. I go home, I'm in my room chilling, doing my thing. So my friend messaged me, and she's like, yeah, girl, we're missing a Coinstar in your register. And I'm like, what you mean? And she was like, yeah, your register is coming up short $100 because you don't have the Coinstar receipt that it says you did in your till. And she was like, you're supposed to have that, because if not, then they just got $100 from us. And I'm like, oh, like, that makes sense. And because I knew homeboy, I was like, well, I actually knew the guy. I can just tell him to come back up with the receipt with the Coinstar thing if he has it. So I text homeboy and I'm like, hey, I accidentally gave you that receipt. Do you still have that? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, do you think you could bring it back to the store? Because this kind of stories, and I ain't trying to get fired. You feel me? And because I knew him, he was like, yeah, like, it's no big deal. Like, I'll be there whenever, right? I don't remember if he brought it back that same day or if he brought it back another day when I was on the shift. Either way it goes, they brought the Coinstar back. Mwah, it was amazing. In my mind, I'm like, God bless, hallelujah. He finds a way for me. So the next day I go back to the store, I'm working, and everyone's acting weird as fuck. Like, they're talking to me and being nice and shit, and it's whatever, but like some of the CSMs and some of the other managers around the store are like looking at me crazy. And I'm just like, you know, maybe I look good today because I had a new wig. You know, I had a new wig. So I was like, oh, they're seeing the luscious tresses and they're feeling it. They're feeling it. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. So later that day, I go home and I'm in a group chat with my friend Cinnamon and my other friend. And Cinnamon was like, girl, someone is stealing from the store and they think it's you. And I'm like, who? Me? She was like, yeah, girl, remember when they was on us all heavy about the shrink and they was trying to make sure we did the paid stickers and everything? She was like, apparently somebody has been stealing hella money from the store and they don't know who it was. And because of the Coinstar the other day, people is thinking that it's you. And I'm like, what she mean? And she was like, yeah, and they was saying something about your register, it'd be off counting or whatever when they do your tills and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Mind you, I'm 17, so I'm like, this is a federal crime. How can I get a federal crime before I'm 18, before I graduate, before I get married, have kids, get some good ding-a-ling? So then Cinnamon was like, yeah, but like you can't tell nobody that I told you because you feel me, like this was sacred information and one of the managers told me. And I was like, well, girl, I was like, well, at the end of the day, I didn't steal and this and that, because at the end of the day, like, that's grounds for termination and I'm not finna be getting fired and da-da-da-da. She was like, well, if they find out that I told you, I'm gonna tell them that it's you so that way you can get fired too, because why should I be the one getting fired with a situation that's not my own? And I'm like, that was a whole like argument actually. And like, if y'all remember Cinnamon from the first story time, she was kind of shitty a little bit, and like that doesn't change through this story. So we did have a little bit of an argument there, but like that's another situation for another time. At the end of the day, I discovered that somebody was finagling from the store and they thought that I was said finagler. So mind you, I keep going to work, keep doing my shifts as usual. However, this time I was on my register more because I was like, people are not finna be working under my name. If people are finding my till it's fucked up. So I'm like, if I'm the only one working on my till when I clock out, then they can't do anything with my till. You know, they're gonna see that I'm not coming up short. I'm keeping it organized. Niggas ain't stealing from me. I am being framed. So a week and some change goes on, and like I said, I was making sure I was on my till. I'm coming in, clocking out on time, keeping everything together, cleaning everything, just being tippity toppity shapity, because I'm like, y'all are not about to think that I'm stealing, and y'all are not about to fire me, because I'ma quit before y'all ever get the chance to rue that day. Yeah. So I'm at the crib easy, minding my business easy, because I had a day off. I wasn't working this day. And then y'all remember my stalker friend from motherfucking the last grocery store story time? Yeah, he's finna make an appearance, baby, because look, I'm at the house minding mine, living my good life as I do, scrolling through the Instagram. I get a message from Stalker, and he's like, Angel, Miss Dorinda got arrested at the store. I'm like, what you mean she got arrested at the store? My whole tune changed up. I'm like, no, hold on, Juicy, hold on. Hold on. What do you mean she got arrested at the store? He's like, you know how they were saying someone was stealing in the store? It was her. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, give me the scene by scene, cut by cut, director's edit, like what's going on? He said 3 police officers came to the store, grabbed Miss Dorinda, arrested her in front of the whole hoopity doopity, took her out, put her in the car, drove off with the wagon. I'm like, this is crazy for a Thursday night. Like, this is crazy. I'm like, she was the one stealing from the store the whole time? He was like, yes, and they been new, because that's why they was honest about the shrink and everything, and that's why they was honest months prior, because she's been stealing from the store from time. So I'm like, everything's adding up now, because every time she would work on my till, it would be disorganized and my bills would be out of place. And I'm like, and she will always work on my specific register. And no wonder they thought it was me during the Coinstar, because she was shorting my till for months. that looks suspicious. You feel me? So the next day I go back to the store, and mind you, ready to gossip. I'm sorry, you like shit like this don't happen. You just don't talk about it. What are we talking about? I get into the store now. I'm like, yo, Miss Sweetie, what happened, Miss Sweetie? What happened? She's like, girl, Miss Dorinda was stealing and this and that. And I'm like, She was like, she maybe had like an actual addiction or something to stealing because she had a lot of money. Like, she had no reason, to our knowledge. We don't know what she went through. But she had no reason to be stealing and shit. And I'm like, girl, now she in the jailhouse. That is really something. After that, a few months after that, like, I had quit the job and everything. But like a few months after that, damn near a year after that, the homie, my stalker friend, messaged me and was like, I saw Miss Dorinda at a store. Like, she's working again. And I was like, she got another job after all that? But yeah, you guys, that was the motherfucking story. That was the story. I mean, what do we think? I hope I gave it some justice. I hope I gave the story justice, because you gotta understand, like, everything piled up after the fact. When I was really thinking of everything and putting shit together, I was like, oh, this is why no wonder it was her. It makes sense, because when she was doing, like, it was very much like,
I have the mind of a I have the mind of a mastermind. What's that?
That is all I have for you today. It's crazy. Thank y'all so much for watching and sticking the realsy wilsies. What's the craziest thing that happened to y'all at y'all job? Were y'all ever framed for finagling when you never finagled? Did y'all ever No, don't tell me if y'all stole, actually. Don't get in the comments doing all the federals and making yourself. Don't do that. Don't tell me that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. Like, comment, and subscribe your name. I would love to see your beautiful face here again, honey. And like I say, and like I always say, be kind to others, and at the very least, be kind to yourself, because you deserve it. And if you don't think you deserve it, I'm gonna come to your motherfucking job, and I'm gonna put the 20s where the 5s are supposed to be, and I'm gonna short your tail, and I'm gonna have it set up that you're stealing from the store even though you're not, and then I'm gonna make you get arrested. I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm not gonna make you get arrested. But you know what I am gonna do? I'm gonna make you fucking subscribe. I love you so much. I thank you so much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.